All right. We are live with the daily Parks and Rec show every day, 12 noon for the people in New York. For me, it's 11. And for John, what is it, 9?
No, it's 11 too. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's right. You're central. I'm thinking, I talked to a guy in California earlier this morning. And so it's crazy, all the different time zones. But um, so today I had a different thought as I was thinking about what I was going to talk to John about. And he's got some really cool stuff in his park that he's done. They have an unbelievable park. But I was like, if we really are going to do our job and open this industry up to high schoolers and college kids that are thinking, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? I think it's important for guys like John to say, why are you doing this? Why are you dedicating your entire 20, 30 years of your life to something that doesn't have a reputation for the highest pay? And yet here are men like John just giving it their all because of why. And I wanted him to speak early in this conversation about the fulfillment, what he sees that gives back, because like John don't punch a clock. They don't work just 9 to 5. Believe me, they are asked to do crazy things that they never thought they were going to end up doing. And they just keep doing it. So John, welcome to the show. Maybe you can help start with why. Why do you do what you do and just keep
Yeah,
going? What got you into this?
absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Craig. So yeah, I mean, I got into Parks and Rec kind of by accident. I fell in. I started my kind of career path focusing on education. So I'm
Mhm.
originally from California, and I worked in state and federal programs for maybe a good portion of my professional career. And then I kind of had a melding of the two where I got exposed to parks and recreation in the field. And in doing so, it really empowered me to gain a different perspective on the services that are available, right? And so for me, when I got my feet into parks and recreation, I just saw the span of which I was able to connect with people within the community, right? So where in education, you're reaching a small percentage of the youth that participate
Mhm.
in specific schools or school districts, right? But with parks and recreation, I just felt it was unlimited, the reach that you have. And so when I got more involved in that, in the special events aspect of it, and the program aspect of it,
Can you talk a little bit more about that breadth? Because you're right, in education, it's like subject matter, mind work, but in Parks and Rec, you're hitting, and really across all age groups, not just, the kindergarten to high schoolers.
right,
You have
right.
elderly people that are closing out this years of their life on your property. I mean, literally from cradle, and you got after school care. So talk about the breadth that you get to impact people from cradle to grave.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great way to put it. Cradle to grave, and having the ability to see something uh, expand from such a young age through
Mhm.
adulthood and through a senior, right? And so, knowing people that have been involved in parks and recreations from the youth, and I just love hearing stories where people say, "Well, when I was a kid, I took
Love it.
recreation. Yes, I
Yeah.
was in soccer, or I was in these programs, and now I want my kids to do those things, right?" And
Right.
so um, it is such a fresh breath of air to know that you can impact generations, right, and
Mhm.
future generations, both not only in program offerings, but also just in the amenities, right? And so when we're talking about uh, facilities and parks and trails, like that is
Mhm.
gonna always be there, right? Programs are gonna evolve,
Ye
but trails and parks and the natural resources
Yeah.
are such an important part of it
Speak a
all.
little. So I think a lot of people talk about having an impact. I want my efforts to impact others, and that's a statement, that's an idea, but tell us what your eyes witness every day. Like, you don't just get to say, "I wanna give my life, I get impact." No, guys, I show up and I see it with my waking eyes, a grandparent and a grandchild bonding on the property I'm in charge of, on the multi-million dollar facilities that I have to orchestrate with my staff. Like, bring us into some of those moments that you're like, oh yeah, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Oh, absolutely. We just constructed pickleball courts in one of our parks, and the stipulation with pickleball, right? That it's only like you're only addressing a small fraction of
Uh-huh.
the population, right? Seniors or people who are retired, which is just not true. And I, like you said, I saw it firsthand, and I see it all the time since we've opened these courts where you have multiple generations, grandparents bringing their grandchildren and teaching them how to participate in this recreational activity outside, away from the screens and away from technology, and just being able to engage and build that personal connection with their relatives and their grandchildren in a recreational, safe, fun environment. And
Love
so
it.
seeing that firsthand is just amazing, just amazing.
Yeah, yeah, and I can say that when we move, when our body moves, when we're out, especially if we're moving with people that we love, and we're in a park or we're in a sport or we're doing pickleball, we're doing tennis lessons, that how that expands the mind and the soul is so healthy from when we're just still and focused on a computer, or even if we're studying, there's something about the body moving. And if you talk about an industry dedicated to the movement of the body and relationships, I mean, this is what y'all been doing for 100 years in
Right, right.
beautiful spaces.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. I think being able to promote healthy habits like that, I mean, just goes hand in hand with what we do in recreation and with parks. And so I think having amenities and things of that nature that target the opportunity for people to experience outdoors, experience the natural wealth that the environment has to offer in a socially adequate space is it's priceless. And you're exactly
Mm.
right.
Alright, so then why are you not leaving this industry? Surely you can make more money and just put your effort and get a bigger paycheck, but you're not leaving. Like, what's keeping you here?
Yeah, when I transitioned fully into parks and recreation, I knew the commitment was going to be big. I knew that I was going to be working odd hours, right? You don't
Mhm.
work just 9 to 5 or 8 to 4. You're on the clock all the time. But I think the fruit of the programs that you get to see really comes to fruition, right? And seeing just the impact that you have with youth, the ability to go in each year and hire high school students to expose them into
I
that
love it.
world and the
Right.
ongoing cycle of that, right? You get to know so many kids, so many families, and you get to open the door to things that these kids may not have the experience, whether it's forestry, whether it's recreational sports, whether it's more clerical stuff, and it's to me it's fulfilling in so many ways. One, I get
Mhm.
to kind of help the next generation of recreation and next generation of parks staff and employees. In addition to the ability to provide services and amenities and events to the community that are new and fresh, I think that is such a rewarding job. And so
Mhm.
for me, that's where I kind of am just like, this is it. This is what I want to do because of the impact and the long lasting impact that we have in this community and surrounding communities.
Yeah. Yeah, and these guys, I mean, for those listening, if you're considering getting into Parks and Rec, John is not just a Park and Rec director. He is the basic CEO of a multi-million dollar agency that's sitting on top of 10 to $20 million worth of assets and orchestrating like a maestro does an orchestra, this staff that also are passionate about making a difference in kids' lives. And if you want to, we say about making a difference in kids' lives. Here's what I mean. If you have not coached a group of 8-year-olds, you're missing out on life. Let me tell you, that is, talk about challenge. You talk about a blast to just
Yeah.
get into a 6-year-old's head about swinging a bat or swinging a tennis rack, anything. It's a blast. And John literally gets to dedicate his life to orchestrating that for his community. I envy your position. Honestly, I do.
Yeah,
But all right,
it's
so now
so
tell us a little bit about what that looks like in your town, because you have got a stunning, uh, like legacy type park. And is Irving Park is the name of it. So if you haven't, just Google Irving Park and see what this guy has just inherited to run. Tell us the
yeah.
history of that first of all.
Yeah. So the funny thing is that before I even got this job, right, I had an opportunity to listen to a podcast, a local podcast here in town, where my predecessor was conversing about this very topic. And one of the things that came up was,
Mhm.
how do you pronounce it? Is it Irvine Park or Irvin Park? And per the family and per how you pronounce the name, it's Irvin Park. I will say that both are acceptable. However, it's technically Irvin Park, and the history to
Irvin.
this park is amazing. So in 1906, William Irvin decided to donate about approximately 165 acres of land with the
Mhm.
idea to provide a space that was equitable for anybody at any level of their income, right? Economically, it didn't matter. He wanted the space to be um, a space where anyone and everyone can come and enjoy things freely. So we have a zoo in this park, and that has grown from 165 to today, where we have over 318 acres of parkland, specifically in this park.
Wow.
Yeah, we just celebrated 100-year anniversary of a band shell, 100 years, and so history is
Wow.
just
Of a what?
uh,
A band shell?
a band shell, yeah. And so it was dedicated to the men and women of sailors, army services, 100 years ago. And so
Wow.
we had a great event this past season, and it was awesome to celebrate. But that just tells you like the history of this park, which is why the community here is just so supportive. I mean, beyond anything that I've ever experienced,
Mhm.
for the legacy of this park.
Yeah, so okay, it's over 100-year-old park, and how many years have you been
Oh,
the 100
I'm on year four. I'm on year four.
So
I
you're
know.
coming up on the it was handed to you, what, at 96 years old? Or you said it was
At
already
least,
the
right?
right. Alright, so don't drop the ball, don't mess it up.
No,
No,
I
but
tremendous responsibility, right? But
yeah,
I can't express like the joy that I've had. Um, just experiencing the park itself. Like I
yeah,
remember months into my first year, I remember discovering new things about the park, and is
mhm.
such a delight to be able to experience that.
Now
And so,
who's your predecessor?
Dick Abear.
And how long was he there for?
He was here for 20 years. He served
Wow,
as a recreational supervisor, and then he moved into the director position. So he was in the director positions for, I believe, just over 10 years.
right. So he basically has this gorgeous ship that was 90 years old when he got it, and he hands it over to you.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
What's it like running this ship? And it has to be intimidating, to be able to take the torch from a man like him on a thing like this.
Well, right. I think. Sorry, my phone's ringing
Yeah,
here.
that's fine.
I
It's a
think.
live performance here, so everybody's gonna just deal with it.
Yeah, I forward that along. So I think the great thing about coming in and knowing like the history behind this park, right? For me, like when I first interviewed, okay, so there's a zoo, right? And so my experience is not in the zoo field. Like I didn't go to school for zoology or any of that. And so when I remember when they asked me like, "What's your experience working or no or managing a zoo?" and I go, "Look, I'm going to be 100% here. I have no background in zoos at all, but what I do have and what I can offer is the management and leadership side of things. And if we have the right
Wow.
personnel in place, we can
Right,
make it work. And that's exactly what we've been
right,
able to do. Um, but to know like though that is something, I mean, that's something to be that I'm responsible for, right? The zoo, the well-being of our bison, all of our tigers, and all of our animals there. And so it's been extremely fruitful as much as it's been challenging to navigate.
right. And so that background noise is proof that this man is always people are grabbing at him constantly trying to get him.
That's right. That's
Um,
right.
so a lot of times people say, "I wanna be part of something bigger than myself," because that forces you to expand your talents and your gifts and go figure out on a zoo, and on day
Yeah.
1, you're a leader, but you've never led in this way, and so if you truly wanna be part of something bigger, this thing is gonna keep rolling before and after John, and he literally just is captain of the ship for now, but it's bigger than him, and, how many men have preceded you on running this Parks and Rec department, and they literally doing the best they can like you to just make it better than they left it, and then
Yep.
handing it and say, "Good luck, son." You know? And
Exactly
so
right.
what's it like running something that's just has almost like an ancient history and a distant future?
Yeah, it's man, it's one of those things that not everyone gets the opportunity to really have their fingerprints in something that's such a historical staple in
Yes.
our community, right? And so to be able to
Mhm.
continue to develop this park, right, where right now we're constructing an all-inclusive playground, and so that just adds to the legacy for this park and what we offer for the
Yeah,
community. And so it's special to be able to be involved in the continual growth expansion of
yeah.
our facilities and amenities.
Just to give people an idea of the scale of the stuff that Parks and Rec directors work with, if you had to put a dollar figure on this park, the land value to rebuild it from ground up today, can you give us a ballpark of what a contractor would say, "Here's your bill if you wanna build this thing?"
You know what? It's I've never thought about it because to me and to many people in the community, it's priceless, right?
It is.
Something that's exactly right. And
It's like the
so I
Sistine
don't know if I
Chapel
could
over
put a
there.
number to it, Craig, to be honest.
I'm trying to think what with 380 acres, just the land alone, and it's gotta be in a prime location, I would imagine, because
Yeah,
you want to live next to this park. I imagine the property value of homes around it is just astronomical compared to if you're away from the thing.
absolutely, absolutely, 100%. It is the jewel of the county, to be honest. And so, being voted, there's a local magazine called Volume One, and they do a best of every year, and so everyone in the county gets to vote for this. And Urban Park is always number one as far as multiple categories, right? Best tourist spot, most beautiful park, best trail. So there's a lot of things that this park specifically offers. And granted, that's not the only park that we oversee, right? Like we have
Right.
other
It's just
amenities that we
right.
cannot let go of, and so
Mhm.
it is very very special. I can't speak to the 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 impact that this one location has to the continual growth of our community, and for the sustainability of people coming and staying here in Chippewa Falls.
Now how's the nature? Is it I'm imagining at 100 years old, the trees, what is it? Give us about it. Does it have lakes? Does it have walking trails? Does it, like
Yeah,
describe the park to us a little for those of us that haven't seen.
yeah, absolutely. So Urban Park is very unique. We have a waterfall. We have a creek that runs all throughout the length of the park. And so there are trails that you can walk right along the length of the park. There are trails that have been developed to go along the hillsides and the cliffs, right by waterfalls. And so we have a ski trail, we have snowshoe trails, we have hiking trails. And so you are able to step into a wooded area with our trails and feel isolated in this massive park while experiencing the natures in a formally constructed way. You know what I mean? So it's a unique offering that we do with our parks. And so, within this park, we have an accessible boat launch and fishing pier. We have the zoo is at this park, and then we have historical landmarks. Right, we have our 100-year band shell. We have a main pavilion that is historical to the park, and so it's it's something to really. I remember driving through the first time when I was getting a tour of the city, and the first stop was Irvin Park. And I remember driving through it and thinking, like, there's no way this is not a state park or like a national, like, it's just
Right. A
amazing.
treasure.
Yeah, it really is. I remember driving and going, like, yep, there are the bison. Like, you just have a herd of bison here.
Promised
And
land.
yeah, it really is.
Um,
It's
Now is
amazing.
it what surrounds it? Is it neighborhoods? Like,
Yep,
how many
that's
houses
exactly right.
surround
There
it?
are neighborhoods that surround the park, and so people who live there are extremely fortunate. Let me tell you,
Mhm.
because for some of them, literally, it's their backyard, and
Right,
so
right.
it is surrounded by. There's some development, so we have the YMCA that's locally in town. It's right across the street from the park. Our pool is right across the street from the park. So we have another adjacent park that's smaller that houses some of our sports
Yeah,
stuff and our aquatic center. Um, but yeah, there are homes all around it. It's central to the city, which is why it's such an important
right.
facility and amenity to upkeep.
Yeah, I mean, like he said, it's literally priceless on something like this. I mean, just 300 plus acres of land, you're talking at, 50 to $100 million. Then you put that as prime real estate in the middle of a city where everyone wants to live around. I mean, the home prices are probably double and triple what they are in other
Sure.
parts of the community. We have a
Yeah.
similar park in New Orleans called Audubon Park, and the houses on the park, they can walk out their back door and walk into the park. And it's like the parks, like guys like you cut their grass for them.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
they have this gorgeously manicured lawn, and so what it does to home prices, and then some of the oak trees in this, I mean, what's the price of a 200-year-old oak tree? Good luck just
Right.
putting that wherever you want, and so, and I just wanted to kinda give a little bit of color to the scale of some an asset like this and what it means to the community, and you're literally having places where the community makes memories, generational memories, and, you're speaking to the guy that is in charge has the mission to keep this thing going, to he's like the steward. You kinda remind me, I don't know if you've seen The Lord of the Rings, the
Yeah,
big Minas Tirith, and when it gets
that's
under
right.
bad leadership, it falls apart, and we've
Right.
heard of those parks that we come across, I mean, we're like, "Oh my gosh, it's such neglect." And
Yeah.
then some knights like yourself come in and say, "All right, we're gonna get this thing back on track." I
Well,
wonder if
I'll
it's
tell
ever
you.
fallen into disrepair over the years.
Say that again.
I said, I wonder if it's ever of its 100-year lifespan, if it's ever because New Orleans was the same way. We have a zoo in New Orleans, but for a
Right.
long time, it was a horrible zoo, and some leader like yourself said, "We're turning this around, and now it's a very good zoo." I wonder if it's had any colorful history or the
Yeah,
city just neglected
absolutely.
it back in the '40s or something.
Yeah, I think in its conception of the zoo and having animals, right? It just in the overall evolution of animal care.
Mhm.
I think through that process, I think there have been people, my predecessors, who have had the foresight to see and develop and grow that. And so, luckily, I walked into a space that was already a little bit ahead of its time as far as the amenities
Mhm.
that are offered for the animals, but that's an ever growing field, right? And so part of my responsibilities are to continue that trend in not only a naturalizing the spaces for our animals, but bringing in more animals that are native to our climate, right? I think that's kind of a part of our road that we're going down as it relates to
Mm.
the zoo.
What does that mean, define that a little bit more for those who aren't familiar with the term naturalizing the for the animals.
Yeah. So currently, some of our exhibits are dated, right? They're about 20 years old, and so they don't have a lot of natural exhibit elements to them, right? They are made to look like a natural landscaping setting,
Mm,
but they don't technically have any natural amenities inside. So our goal and vision is to reconstruct and remodel and redevelop those to include more natural resources in there: limestone, sand, trees, logs, things like that, that are more suitable to the climate and environment that these animals are
Mm.
used to living in.
Okay. Now, I'm gonna tell a little story. A mentor told me he had a mentor of his that was an entrepreneur, had a super nice exit. You know, I think it was like a $50 million exit, all the money he'll ever need. And but an exceptional entrepreneur who retires early. And my friend, who's my mentor, Shane, says, "Hey, do you miss it? Like, what do you miss about you know playing at this level?" And he says, I miss who it made me. I miss what it made of me. And when you say that on day one, guys, being honest, I've never run a zoo. Tell us what John had to become to run this park, to work with this community, and to take the torch and run with it. What did it make of you?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. In my short time here, I think I've grown in so many different ways. Right, like coming from California, where I'm originally from,
Mm,
um, there really isn't like major forestry to handle and to manage, and so that's another aspect of my job, becoming the city forester and having forestry under my belt. And so I've become more versed and knowledgeable on forestry management, on top of zoo and knowing what permits need to be filed when, and what regulations are need to be met. And so working with the USDA to ensure that our exhibits are up to standard. And so there's a lot of elements in there that for me, as personal growth and development, outside of this job, I don't know where someone can get all of that exposure and experience, right? And
right.
so in forestry, it being a big part of it, at being able to identify certain species of trees and knowing if one tree is unhealthy or biologically reaching its end of life. And so I've been exposed to a lot that I may otherwise never have had the
Mm,
opportunity to, because of the climate that this position is located at, right? And
mhm,
so each city and each state has its own variances and its own
mm,
kind of character and things that come with it, right? And so stepping into this world, which is completely different than California, and dealing with all the elements of snow and all the seasons, right? It's become something that's molded me as a
yes.
professional and as a man. And so I'm just extremely grateful for the continual growth. And I say
Right.
continual because I'm still growing to
Yeah.
today. So
Yeah. And to those high school and college kids that are listening to our program, you become the challenging you become this internal strength grows out of necessity because you're doing something challenging and difficult. So you want to be the person that Mount Everest makes when you're climbing it. It's not so much about hitting the peak. It's about, I know that if I'm going to do something this challenging, I have to figure things out, be stronger, become a leader, uh, and I can't think of an industry that throws more at the leader than Parks and Recs. The most random, I mean, give us some examples of some of the random things that all of a sudden are your problem to solve. And you're like,
yeah, I
how?
mean, I could talk to you about simple things as far as getting a phone call because there's a tree that's in someone's backyard that the branches are hanging over. So now I have to deal with a
Mhm.
public nuisance tree, where then I have to complete a whole letter process, right? Where I was like, I would never thought I would
Right.
be dealing with having to deal with some of those issues. But other things,
Mhm.
as widely as it comes to, the zoo it's a big one, right? So we have sometimes we have to deal with a PETA who comes in, or if they do a report, then we have to make sure that USDA comes in and we go, look, we're treating our animals to the best of our ability in providing them with the best enrichment opportunities, the best diets and nutrition opportunities. But people sometimes have blinders on and want to see the worst in things. And so, we do
Mhm.
our best to make sure that not only with our zoo, but with all of our programs, right? We want to meet and exceed the public's expectations with programs. And so, yeah, there are some things that are definitely I'll give you an example. We've had a lot of beavers started attacking some of our trees, and so they've become a nuisance. And so we have to deal with
Right.
how do we relocate these beavers, or how do we address this need, because they are just going to town on all these trees and they're affecting our river. And so I never thought I was going to have to deal with the beaver nuisance, you know what I mean? So
Have y'all had any monkeys escape from the zoo, or a lion got out, or anything like that?
that's funny. Years before I got here, we did have, and I've only heard the story of one of our capuchin monkeys got out into the community, and it took a while to recover. But not since I've been here. I'm proud to say no animals have gone missing. So
None that we're reporting today live on this show.
that's exactly right.
All right. So that's just like you said. Of course, this is a flagship park. The community's proud of it, but you still can't neglect the little community 2, 3, 5 acre parks, the community center, the elderly center. Tell us about some of the other things that you're having to manage as a park and rec director over there.
Yeah, so we have a park. It's called Riverfront Park. It's
Mhm.
fairly new. I think it was constructed in 2016 with the idea of hosting special events. And so it's a beautiful park located right along the river. And so for me is how can we take that park and take full advantage of it, right? And creating new special events. And so that's some of the great part of this job, right, is being able to use your creativity and being able to provide special events. And so since I've came here, we've started providing fireworks shows and concerts and things that previously weren't focused on. And I think that again, that just comes with the evolution of our
Mm.
nature of our department. So that's one amenity. So running special events and concerts and
Well,
music.
let's let me dig a little deeper on that one. So you're running 100-year-old legacy, flagship here. Okay, so there's one thing, a never-ending thing that people can visit around the clock, 24/7. Now we're shifting gears. Park and rec directors put on special events. We're talking about Christmas parties, 4th of July's, Easter egg hunts, festivals. Like, help us dig into that. Where if I'm a high schooler and I'm like, um, can you tell me what the job description looks like? So give us a pull the curtain back on special events. And I know y'all have an awesome special event. It's the Christmas thing, right?
The Christmas Village, yeah.
Yeah, as an
So
example.
to kind of hit on how we promote to our potential employees. Each year we go to the high school. Stipend here we have two high schools in town, so we go present to both high schools and both the student bodies, and give them a big picture, because it's a big picture of all the things that they'll be able to do, from mowing to painting to installing benches to removing posts to cleaning animal exhibits to being a part of some forestry. So it's a wide range, including special events. And so
Mm,
some of our special events, they've grown over the years since I've been here. And so one of the big ones is our 4th of July event, where I think last year for a community our size, we housed I think over 8,000 visitors came just for this event. And so
wow.
having an emergency plan for the event is part of it, and a strategic plan for what type of amenities we're going to offer. And so it's a big undertaking. And so that
What
brings
did y'all have like? Y'all have like live entertainment, food trucks, porta
that's exactly right.
potties.
Yep, we had
Mm,
live entertainment, food trucks, we had balloon artists, we had bounce houses, we had a DJ, and so it's a real great community offering and experience. And right for kids
mm,
coming in, it exposes it into the world of coordinating, planning, organizing, and being a model in that field. And
mm,
so which is great. It's completely different than some of our recreational offerings where they're having to maybe
yeah.
work on creating new programming or running basketball leagues or different things like that. So it really is a broad job.
Yeah, I cannot imagine that kids are not beating the door down to get into this industry for any other reason that they just have no clue that it's even happening. Like, I mean, your job sounds so exciting and fulfilling and challenging. this is what humans look for, to be challenged, to be fulfilled, to collapse at the end of the day from exhaustion of the excitement and the challenge that life like a life in Parks and Rec gives you, other than sitting behind a desk and just grinding for that paycheck.
Right,
You're looking
right,
at it like, "This is what I gave my life to?"
right. I mean, you get to be outside. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I mean, riding a mower can be very therapeutic, guys. So if you're out there, like,
I know.
it's great.
Yep,
It's great. Yeah.
yeah. Alright, so tell us about the Christmas event. I know that's a big deal for y'all. That's a big annual, is that a multi-day or single day event, or what does that look like?
Yeah, so we kick off our Christmas Village, which is takes place at Irving Park. We take
Mhm.
about, uh, uh, I would say a big good portion of the entrance of the park up to leading all the way up to the zoo is taking up with lights, and that event runs from Thanksgiving
Mm.
Day through New Year's Day. So it's all the way through. We don't close ever unless it's like a major uh, weather incident where it's more of a safety precaution. But that is completely open to everyone. It's a drive-through and walk-through space where we have over 250,000 lights. And I'll tell you one thing: this event and the history of this event is just as impressive as some of the history of our park in general. This
Mm.
started 37 years ago, going into its 38th year. And it was started by a small group of volunteers who said, "Hey, we should have a Christmas display." And the small group of volunteers, with the approval of the park board commission and the city council, they said, "Yep, go ahead and do this." And they did it at a small scale. And every year it's grown. And then the parks department took it over. But without a doubt, we would not be able to do it without the community's
Mm.
volunteer and support. We
Right,
get each year we get over 150 volunteers out to put up lights and to string them up, staple them, check light bulbs, and so it's a community effort, which is why it makes the event so successful. Right? There's so much
right.
buy-in and history behind it. It's
Yeah,
personal for our community. It's special.
yeah. And, for those of you listening, if you can play this episode to your mayor or your people that have to stroke the checks to John for his crazy ideas to expand what he's doing, um, I think so often it's hard for elected officials to fund what they just don't see and understand. If you show them this video, I think they'll get a grasp of the value and the priceless nature of the work John is doing and the things that he is orchestrating. Maybe, John, you can help us explain the value of your work and your park system and your staff bring to its community.
Yeah, when trying to quantify like the amount of work that goes to like setting up the Christmas village, right? Since we're talking
Mhm.
about that, it's nearly impossible for our staff to do it, right? And so because of the buy-in from the community, when you're
Mhm.
talking about how do we fund this as a city, how do we keep up with this? A lot of it and the majority of it is ran strictly through donations. And so each year we generate between $38,000 to $44,000 in donations for the upkeep, maintenance, and improvement of the Christmas village
Mm.
by itself. And that's one element of our operations, right? In the bigger picture, when we're looking at all of our parks and facilities, I'm fortunate to step into a position that has a rich history of endowments and trusts that help in the efforts to continually improve and sustain our,
Mm.
our parks. And so that to me is something that other departments and other states and other cities should focus on helping bring awareness to the powerful abilities of having trusts and having these donation aspects. I know a lot of
Mm.
parks focus on donations. I know a lot of parks do a great job, um, but I'm a little biased just because of what I've seen here in Chippewa Falls, and so
Right,
it goes
right.
it goes a long way.
I think what John's sitting on top of is your potential. If you're in a park and you can look at John, what they've accomplished as many generations of park and rec professionals over in Chippewa Falls, um, that if you do something compelling with a strong vision and go for it and just start building, the community will get behind you. John's community is evidence that they are going to keep this train rolling. They're going to fund the Christmas, going to fund this park that they've had for 100 years, and that just go for it. Go visit John's and see what the end product can look. Now, it might take multi generations, but men and women before him had the vision and were compelled enough to keep pushing, and the community is obviously behind him. Um, Tell us about some of the people that donate to this. I mean, is it older families that are no longer there? This was part of their legacy when they died, and then who's stepping up to the plate now? What do they look like?
Yeah, I mean, and you hit it the nail on the head, Craig. There are such long-lasting endowments and trusts that have been kind of for us. It's been offered to us as part of our ability to sustain our parks, right? So we
Mm,
have the Gerald and Evelyn Thorpe Trust, and so this is a trust that annually distributes funds to our parks to help the upkeep and maintenance. And each annual that's going to fluctuate based on the market, right? But each year it's anywhere from 90,000 to 180,000 dollars that we get to
mhm,
allocate for improving facilities and amenities. Then we have the William Irvin Trust, and we have the Irvine Park Endowment, and so we have a community
mhm,
foundation here in town that essentially helps with all of these trusts and foundations and grants where people can start by depositing $100, $1,000, and that the idea is that that trust will grow and other people can donate towards that to grow, and then each year a percentage of that gets dispersed to us or to a park,
mhm,
and in the efforts to improve that specific request, right? So we have funds coming in specifically for youth recreation. We have funds specifically for forestry. We have funds coming in specifically for Irvine Park animals in the zoo. And so it really is limitless as far as
mhm.
what can be done with something like that.
Right. Right, and it seems like such a natural, organic way to live your life at the end when you're an elderly person, grandparent that's got whatever you've got left over, and of course, you may will some of it to your children and grandchildren, but to think about the space where you raised your kids, where you taught them baseball, where you met your grandkids, where you threw birthday parties and weddings, and your whole life is spent in this community. It just makes sense that they would leave a legacy in a monetary, in a way to leave funding to say, "I want this park to continue because it was such a part of my life," and that if you can just frame it that way and build a place for these people to raise their families in, that it should flow naturally into the hands of John to be able to keep it going.
And that's just it. Like I've mentioned it to you, Craig, that it's really shocking just the amount of love, support that
Mm,
this community has for our park system and urban parks specifically. And you're right, when someone does pass, they oftentimes leave an endowment to the parks, whether it's a
mm,
small portion or a large portion, anywhere from $1,000 to $500,000. And so
mm,
it's been just so rewarding and fruitful to see a community so tightly together in support of something that you're right. It's something that's gonna be there after I'm here and long after whoever the next person is
mhm.
here. It's not going anywhere.
Now, do you ever feel like this sense of overwhelm that I just wanna quit, or can I do this? Am I even qualified to do this? Do you ever face those moments?
All the time. Like I'm like, what? This is so. There's so much. Like I'll give you an example. At Urban
Mhm,
Park, when we talk about like how do we sustain this, there's a portion of the park that is heavily wooded, right? And so it's never been managed ever in its history of the park. And so knowing like the responsibility that I have in ensuring the longevity of this park, it was this a decision was made to really focus on the management of this wooded area, and so which spans 100 and I think 60 acres of wooded area that needed to be managed. And so we're in the midst of that. We're at the tail end of it, but it's something that I thought people were going to just lose it. Like, what are you doing to our forest? And
Oh,
and
did I
and
lose him? Hold
luckily,
on, let's see.
oh, are you
Make
there?
sure.
I think we
The
lost you,
internet
Craig.
gods might have betrayed us. Hold on, let me see if
Oh
I can get him
no.
back.
Can you hear me?
All right, let's see if I can get John back for a second. Man, this is
Hello?
performances on the road here. No, we're doing good on my end. Might have been lost on his end.
I'm still here if you can hear me. I don't know. Let me see. I'll send you a message.
Now it's booting. Come on, you can do this. Oh, well. That's the world just. Then there's actually several other topics I wanted to. An awesome park that they have over there. Maybe this is just a sign that we need a second show. This is one of the guys that we just special, and he is in charge of something that's just amazing. And I know, and guys, thank you so much for letting me tell the story of Parks and Rec. I am discovering the colleges are going to be stacked with Parks and Rec young kids coming in, because I know that if I can get guys like John to just tell their story, that it is compelling. So let me see if I can get him back on. John, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep. Oh, I just finished bragging about you. So I
Oh,
was like,
oh, then I'll go away so you can keep going. I'll go away.
keep going. No, I was just telling kids that.
You there? I lost you.
It's not liking us. Okay, I think we're back.
Yeah, there you are. I can hear you now.
Yeah, so it's just because the story's not out. I think the more we highlight the work that you do, the blast that you're having, and the man that you're becoming because of this industry, that you're just not going to find this for a paycheck anywhere else. You're
Yeah.
just really not. I mean, it's got to be.
I think I lost you again.
Yeah, I think we're on and off.
Yeah, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I get you. You break up here and there, but I got.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and end the stream because I don't know what's going on with the internet connection. So hopefully this gets recorded well. Okay. You still there?
I am. I'm here. I'm right here.
Any closing remarks before the internet kicks us off again?
No, look, Craig. I appreciate the opportunity. I think it's
Mm.
important what you're doing in getting people's stories out there and exposing people to places and parks and cities that they may have never heard of, even. And
Mhm.
so I think it's important to do what you're doing. So I appreciate you for what you got going on.
Our internet connection, it's Friday, but okay. I think I
Oh,
got you back now.
oh, good. All right. Well, before it gets off, if you didn't hear what I said, I
I
appreciate you for
did.
all the work that you're doing, and so I'm
Yeah.
thankful for the opportunity to
Well,
share.
thank you so much, man. I'm going to reach out to you. I want to have you back on because so many other things I wanted to talk about, but I'll send you a link and let's just chat offline and let's see if we can do this again. This was a blast.
Yeah, you got it, Craig. Thanks a lot. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
You got it.
Right. Bye. All right. So, man, what an exciting show that was. We're going to do more of this and we're going to keep this going. And I don't care that I've got to do this from my Tesla while I'm in Texas traveling to traps because this industry is just pulling me all over the planet here. And I want to keep telling this story. Wow, what an awesome guy that was. What a great park that was. I mean, you're seeing the peak, the pinnacle of what it means to be Parks and Rec director. We'll be able to sign off real quick. And I will be here tomorrow. We have another great interview. I wish I had time to tell you how you could support us, but I got to run to another meeting in there with City of Dallas, going to lunch with him. But I'm Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show every day, Monday through Friday, 12 noon Eastern. Don't miss it. We've got awesome guys like John coming on the show telling us what Parks and Rec is about. And please share this with high schoolers and college kids because they need to get into this industry if they want their life to mean something. Don't let them get strapped to a paycheck and giving their life's energy for something that just leaves them feeling hollow and empty, and they can buy a little more stuff that's not going to leave them, it's just going to leave them wanting. Does John look like he's wanting? That man is becoming something great. Kids, you can do something like that that is going to compel you into greatness, but not if you're just sitting behind a desk, just grinding for some, venture capital firm, whatever. Go invest in your community. Get involved with Parks and Rec. At least go volunteer to coach for these people, because I promise you, you get out and dedicate yourself to your community like this, and something as challenging as what Parks and Rec does, you're not going to regret it. You're not going to live life with regret, wondering why you just gave 20 or 30 years for a paycheck. It's not going to be worth it. So look into Parks and Rec. Get involved, volunteer, coach, get on a park staff. And if at a minimum, go find a Parks and Rec professional, shake their hand and tell them thank you for making our park and our city a great place to live. Love you guys. I will be here tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern. Talk to you later, guys. Bye.
When you invest in our high-performance LED sports arena lights, you're not just upgrading your facilities, you're helping us illuminate the untold stories of parks and recreation communities. Every purchase directly supports the Daily Parks and Rec Show, a media platform on a mission to celebrate the heart and soul of our local parks and programs. From after-school activities to summer leagues, these spaces shape lives, and their stories deserve to be told. Why your support matters. Capturing community impact. Your contribution helps us assemble a talented team of digital artists, storytellers, and filmmakers to create compelling videos, articles, and short films that spotlight how Parks and Rec programs change lives. Sharing untold stories. From a child's first home run to lifelong friendships forged on the court, we'll document these priceless moments and share them with the world. Inspiring the next generation. By highlighting the joy, inclusivity, and opportunities found in our parks, we foster a deeper appreciation for these vital community spaces. Light up arenas, brighten futures. Your choice to install LED sports arena lights isn't just a smart investment in energy efficiency and performance, it's an investment in stories that deserve to be told. Be part of the story. Take action today. Purchase LED sports arena lights and help us shine a spotlight on the heartwarming stories that define our parks and communities. Contact us now to learn more about our products and how your support fuels the Daily Parks and Rec Show. Together, we'll shine a light on the moments that matter most.